Hey guys, it's Shane here from Tank Hunter Miniatures, and today we're going over the tier list for super heavy tanks. Because I had a lot of comments on my Imperial God video, why didn't I have like Bane Blades and stuff? Where were the Bane Blades? And I was like, they're here. They're very separate, they have different stats, they have different ways you use them, so it needs a separate video. The thing about it was I was looking into other factions, you know, how to fit it all in, so I'm just doing every other faction because the majority is Imperial God tanks, so I could do it, you know, just Imperial God super heavy tanks, but there's a few others that other factions have, so I figured I'll just put them all together. I have enough just for all of them. Alright, so to rank each tank, we use the same system as always, based on the 6 criteria. Is it cost effective? How good does it look? Does it support other units? Is it strong? Does it have a single use? Is it versatile? And if its unique abilities are good. So let's get straight into it. No real order of which one they're going into. So yeah, let's get started. One of the things I'm going to mention is I'm not going to be putting Legends or Horus Heresy stuff in. Otherwise we'd be here for hours. They have a lot of extra stuff. So yep, just the main stuff you can still field. So let's start with the Space Marines, everyone's favorite. Now, they only have currently one supported super heavy tank. That's the Astraeus. Now, this is a neat guy. This came out relatively recently. It's like a Primaris sort of tank. It's pretty cool. It looks great. I always love how this guy looks. It's very unique. I love the body, how flat it is. It's very much what a tank should sort of have, that lower profile, even though it's still hovering. Although it doesn't have fly for reasons. But anyway, this is also the most expensive tank on the list. This is 525 points. And it does a lot of firepower. The macro accelerated cannon is pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of shots, a lot of range with an autocannon. It's pretty cool. And yeah, that'll really... then the suppressing will really hurt whatever its target is. You know, you can really debuff something that is a big threat. However, compared to a lot of the other tanks on this list, this is really expensive. It is hard to kill because it's toughness 12, 2-up save. It's got a 5-up invuln, and I always find something like a 5-up or 6-up really worthless, as you're rarely going to be hit with anything higher than AP3, which is going to turn its 2-up save to a 5-up anyway, so it's not super helpful. But yeah, while this is a really powerful tank, it is overcosted, I think. Because basically for the price of this guy, for how many wounds and everything, you know, you could bring maybe close to 3 predators that are going to be doing just as much damage. So it's one of those things, like, do you risk just bringing one big guy that's a big target? I mean, that's the thing with every titanic sort of unit in this game. It's a lot of eggs in one basket. So for this guy, yeah, while he's dealing a lot of damage, the trouble with him is he's not a huge strength. He can't take out other big targets. He can only take out pretty good targets. Except the las cannons, they're great, but compared to some of the weapons you're going to see with these other titanic tanks, they are crazy. So yeah, this guy's in a bit of a weird place, but still powerful, just a bit too expensive for what he does. So let's put him at B tier. B tier for the Astraeus. Alright, so now with the Space Marines done, let's look at the Imperial God. So the most well recognized titanic tank is the Bane Blade. Now in this edition, Bane Blade, pretty good. Now this is the second most expensive titanic Bane Blade variant in the game, but it does pretty good for its points. You got a lot of option because the Bane Blade cannon itself is crazy good. That's going to take out so many things. And for anything bigger that you need to take out, it's got a demolisher cannon on it as well. So this guy is just, he's able to take on anything. And the fact that he gives cover behind him, like, yeah, you can put this guy up front. He's going to lead. Yeah, he's just a great choice. He really has no downsides to him. It's like there are some weapons that are stronger than the Bane Blade cannon, but this is right where you want it. It's definitely strong. No one can say this isn't strong and this isn't good. So it's perfectly well rounded. So the Bane Blade, that's going into S tier. This is your gold standard. This is something you can rely on. and will be worth bringing. Next up is the Bane Hammer. Now this is a similar tank. The main difference is this also has transport capacity and a firing deck. So that's really cool. You can load up a lot of guys into the Bane Hammer, have them shoot out of it. That's pretty good. That's pretty supportive. Its tremor cannon, I wouldn't say is as good as the Bane Blade. Like overall, the Bane Hammer is good, but it does need more support. Like you need to put guys in it and have it doing other things with other units for it to really be effective. So it's not super good just on its own. That being said, having this guy, be able to give a firing platform, protecting all these big guys, firing out, that's incredible. So overall, can't quite hold its own as well as a Bane Blade, but a Bane Hammer, still really good. Like I said, the tremor cannon, not quite as good, but still, that's going to hurt pretty much everything. So, yep, Bane Hammer, that's at A tier. Alright, so let's move on to the Bane Sword. Very much like the Bane Blade, although instead of going for sort of multi-weapon loadout, this guy's just got one big gun that's incredibly powerful, the Quake Cannon. Now this thing is great at taking out vehicles, it's armor obliteration, making something explode on the 3-up. You can really hurt like a large area of your enemy with this guy. It's so long, so destructive. Strength 16, that's incredible. Ignores cover, AP 4. Yeah, this is one of the hardest hidden cannons in the game, so Bane Sword is definitely up there. So while the Bane Blade, like it got S tier because of how versatile it was, a lot of guns that were doing a lot of damage to a lot of targets, whilst this guy is really focused. So I was thinking of lowering it for that reason, that it's mostly got its one big gun, but that gun is so good, you have to put it into S tier, because that's going to take out everything. Oh, it's too good to give up. So now looking at the Doomhammer. So this guy's ability, close range Titan Killer. So anything really big, your monsters or vehicles, you're always going to be getting that melt effects. The melt is 6 within 24. However, the 24 is a pretty short range for one of these tanks, so I really don't think you want to get within 24 of most things, like an Imperial Knight or something. If you're within 24, that's dangerous. They can still come in and really hurt you. While it does still have the transport capacity, like the Bane Hammer, so that's pretty good. You can load this guy up, get him in pretty close. It's just pretty risky. This guy needs to be up close, and he's only really hurting like giant targets, but it's not really that much because it's only strength 12. Like I said, the last cannon was strength 14, so it can't even relatively wound itself. So it'd be wounding itself on a 5, and that's are you really good at hurting titans? Like, you're good at doing damage, but you're not that great at wounding, so it's still pretty powerful. Blast, it's gonna melt through a lot of things, but yeah, just how limited its ability is, but it does still have its transport. We gotta put this guy at B tier. He's just, unless you really need something like this, you can do a lot better with other variants of the Bane Blade here. So now we're on to the Hellhammer, the close quarters warfare tank. It's funny it says that, because while it's ignoring the penalties to hit for making ranged attacks while enemies are engagement range, so you can shoot into combat with this guy and sort of out of combat at something that's in range, but of course you can't fire the main guns. It's Demolisher Cannon, it's Hellhammer Cannon. You still can't fire them into combat because they're blast. It's not like the Vindicator where you ignore that. On top of that, like the Hellhammer Cannon, it's a lot of shots, but it's so swingy. Like, it's 46 attacks. If you roll badly, maybe roll a couple of 1s and 2s, it's just, and you're only hitting on 4s. And I mean, what was your target? It's only strength 7, only AP 1. You need to reliably get numbers to make this damage come through. Because if you look at the turret, it's just a Lehman Russ turret that they've stuck on top of a Bane Blade. It looks stupid. I hate this this tank. I think this is probably the weakest there is. It is really cheap. It's not actually the cheapest though. So yeah, this guy really can't do a lot. He's close range, but he can't shoot into close range. He just is okay at shooting over close range. So he's supposed to be, yeah, up front, but he can't deal a lot of damage. So, yeah, the Hellhammer has nothing going for it. Literally nothing going for it. It is F tier. Do not bring a Hellhammer. That is my advice. Bring anything else. Now, for taking out Titans, this is what you want. The Shadow Sword. With its Titan killer ability, you know, devastating wounds. So, yeah, you've got the chance to straight flat 12 devastating wounds onto a giant guy, a monster or a vehicle. This can just one-shot most things out of the game. And it's pretty reliable, because it's got heavy, so it's going to be hitting on 3s if it stands still. 96 inches, that's the whole table. It can shoot anywhere. It's, you know, you're going to be getting 2 to 4 shots as well. That's pretty good with Blast. So, the Shadow Sword, that's a pretty reliable anti-large killer. It's going to take out most things. What draws it down? Like, its price is okay, but this is its function. The Volcano Cannon has one function. If your opponent doesn't bring anything too big, it's kind of wasted. Or if he brings a lot of small vehicles. Like if you're going up against Votan, and he's just got a bunch of Sagittars, oh, you can kill one Sagittar a turn, who cares? So, it's very dependent on what your opponent has. Like, this is insanely powerful, strength 24. This is definitely one of the most powerful guns in the game, but it's too powerful. It doesn't need to be that powerful, so it's going to be overkill against literally everything else. So, a Shadow Sword isn't really going to get a lot of play in just a regular game. So we got to give the Shadow Sword B as well. It's still powerful. It's still, still hard to get rid of, but it's just not going to be that useful in most situations. So next we go a really unique designed Baneblade variant, the Stormblade, with its giant plasma blast gun. This thing is crazy. And it's one of the cheaper ones too. It's $4.15. I mean, you're going to be able to fit this in almost every army. This can, really be made use in a lot of different deployments you're bringing. So its main thing is, if you're firing within 24 inches, you get rerolls to hit. Just flat rerolls to hit. That makes something that hits on 4s so much more accurate. And it just deals a lot of damage. Like, it's only D6 plus 3, so it's like a Vindicator, but yeah, when you overcharge this, strength 10, AP 3, 4 damage, that's good. Like, this guy is a Terminator killer. This is anything big, smaller vehicles, big infantry, it's going to take it out. So this is really reliable. I think this is a really cool looking tank as well. I really like the Stormblade. I think this is really cool. It's really effective. The plasma is definitely good, definitely worth having. So Stormblade, that's getting A tier. It doesn't quite have the same firepower that, say, the normal Baneblade has, but it's close. Like, you couldn't expect this guy to take out a larger tank, but it could hurt it, and it could hurt a lot of other stuff. So, yeah, definitely a good tank, definitely cheap. Yeah, worth bringing the Stormblade. Now another really unique looking model, the Stormlord, with its Vulcan Mega Bolter. Basically what's on a Scout Titan. Its arm, the Mega Bolter, it's just strapped to the tank. So that's really cool. A lot of shots with this guy. He's an infantry shredder. He's going to take out a lot of stuff. Not only that, he's really good at protecting infantry. Like, you can just bring him back inside as soon as a trouble comes up. This guy's got transport capacity of 40. So you can bring a lot of your army into this guy. He's 460, so that's moderately priced. And yeah, you can load this guy up, put him forward, and he can support as he's, just pushing forward. You can have a whole flank just supported by the Stormlord. So his biggest downside is he can't quite deal the same damage some of the other ones can, because it's only a Mega Bolter. It's like a 20-shot heavy bolter essentially, so it's going to do good against lower armored targets and infantry and stuff like that. It's going to reliably shred through a lot of stuff, but its main ability is its carrying capacity and its firing deck. This is a big support platform, so while it's pretty tough, it can't take out a lot of things on its own. It's mostly good when it's around other stuff, and it's sort of got other things that can help it. So we'll put it at B tier because it's still really good, but it definitely needs a specific build to make it good. You need other stuff to support it. And lastly, of the Baneblade variants, we have the Storm Sword. Now, the Storm Sword is very similar to the Bane Sword. The guns are very similar, whilst the Bane Sword just deals that flat 4 damage. This one does a minimum of 3 damage with the possibility of doing 8, which is pretty cool. It's the same amount of shots, just within 48 inches. That being said, pretty much everything should be within 48 inches anyway. You don't really need 72 inches. It's got the ability to do mortal wounds around itself just with a concussive wave, so that's really good. You're able to leave a really good footprint of damage with that. And yeah, this guy is really strong. Like, this guy could take out other tanks of his size because it's strength 16. It's good reliable shots, ignoring cover, AP 4. Like, yeah, this is like 2 Vindicators strapped together essentially. It is the most expensive, but this is insanely good how its weapon is and its ability to deal mortal wounds. So just like the other guys, yeah, this guy's an S tier. Storm Sword is always going to be able to dish out a lot of damage and really bring things home. So now we're on to the Macarius models. Starting with just the main Macarius heavy battle tank with its twin battle cannon, which is essentially just 2 Leman Russes, just the standard battle cannon stuck together. So overall, it's not that effective. Its ability to reroll a hit roll of 1 when it's on an objective is not as good as a Leman Russ battle tank, as that just has natively reroll 1s to hit and full rerolls when its target's on an objective. This guy is just going to be sitting on your backfield, holding your objective, and that's how it's going to get its buff. It's not that great, so I'd really much rather 2 Leman Russes than a Macarius. It's overcosted, and at the end of the day, you can't give this guy orders unless you have Lord Solar, just like all of them. But if you had 2 Leman Russes, you could give them orders and, you know, make them the better to hit. So it's not really a good trade-off. Macarius, it's kind of a cool model. So Macarius is hitting C tier. If you guys want to give it lower than C, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm just going to give it C. It's just very average. It's not terrible, but it's average. So next in this line is the Macarius Vanquisher, which again is just 2 Leman Russ Vanquishers stuck together, giving this guy a twin-linked Vanquisher cannon. So it's going to be able to hit large targets pretty good and deal some damage. Still very swing, as it's 1 shot. Now it's going to get rerolls to hit against a vehicle, but it's still only 1 shot that's twin-linked. So yes, it's going to hit more than likely. Yes, it's going to wound more than likely. But on average, it's going to deal about 9 damage. So is that really worth bringing almost 300 points for something that can deal about 9 damage to a big tank? Like this, I'd rather just bring the 2 Vanquisher Leman Russes and they can do other stuff. They can be buffed. Yeah, it's just not a good trade-off. It's not really ideal. So yeah, Macarius Vanquisher, that's a C as well. It's just, yeah, just meh. And last of this generation is the Macarius Vulcan, which has the Vulcan Mega Bolter, a smaller version from the Stormlord. So it pretty much does the same thing as that. Like, it's no penalty to hit, so you can shoot this into combat, so that's kind of good. But it's still only strength 6. It's only 2 damage, 1 AP. It's alright. This is probably one of the more reliable options, but you're only going to be really able to damage small to medium infantry. That's about it. And you've got so much other stuff in your army that can already do this. So why would you buy the Macarius Vulcan? Yeah, it's better than the other stuff, but it's just really not needed. It's not necessary. You can just field more Leman Russes, and you're already doing better than bringing these guys. We always see this. This is a rule of thumb with Forge World. It's either really good or it's really bad, and this is that end of the scale for these. Macarius, they just very much rolled wrong when it comes to this edition. So Macarius Vulcan, that's a C tier as well. The whole Macarius line just goes straight into C tier. Now the Valdor, cool looking model. You know, it uses the Malcador chassis, but instead of having a turret and stuff up the top, it's just its big gun is just in the center, which is weird. It's a Titanic, and the Malgadors aren't Titanics. It's odd, but you know, I don't make the rules for these things. The Valdor's okay-ish. It's basically exactly the same as the Macarius Vanquisher. Does the same job where it's designed to really hurt something large. This one does it okay. It's, you know, it's got a couple of shots, but it's basically dealing the same average damage. So it's, you know, it's interchangeable. You could use one or the other. So overall, it's the same place as the Macarius, because it's just not that needed and it's not that useful outside of this one situation. So the Valdor, yeah, that's going to C tier as well. So now we're through everything Imperium. Let's look at some Chaos, starting with the Lord of Skulls, which of course can be used in your World Eater's army or just your normal Chaos Marines army. So this guy's pretty good. Like, it's, for being a Khorne unit, it's pretty accurate at shooting. It's got all its 3-ups. So not only that, if you take it with your Trader Marines, you know, you're going to be able to use Dark Packs to get the lethal hits or the sustained hits. So that's pretty cool. It is very expensive, $450. And this is one time when I'd say the Invulnerable Save, a 5-up, is good because it's only got a 3-up base. It is pretty tough though, toughness 13. That's very much on the highest scale of toughness. So it is going to be hard to bring down, but it is a bit harder on its saves, so that's kind of balances out. Overall, it's got a good, reliable choice of weapons. You know, it's got a couple of really strong, big damage guns. Because the Demon Gore Cannon, that's basically a Vindicator. You know, you got a Gatling Cannon as well. That's really powerful as well. So good variety there. It's going to be able to take out most targets. You can have these guys designed to be, if you took a couple, one for being anti-infantry, one for anti-large. So that's good. As I said, it is expensive though. And when you think about it, you know, you could take a Lord of Skulls or you could take Angron. I think most players playing World Eaters, they're going to want to take Angron. So yeah, it's a big investment. So it definitely is okay, but there are sort of better things you could buy because it's yeah, pretty highly costed. So let's put him at B tier. Still pretty powerful, but maybe not everything you should be doing. So now we're on to looking at Eldar, starting with the Cobra. Really cool looking tank, really sleek. You know, it's almost like a plane, but you know, it's got that giant gun in the center of it. That's cool. So this is the definition of a glass cannon. It is one of the weaker toughness wise, because it's only toughness 11, so it will be easier to wound, but it's still got 24 wounds and a 2-up save. It's going to be difficult. And 14 movement. This is so mobile. It's only 415 points as well. This is one of the cheaper Titan tanks as well, so this is crazy. Now the D-Impaler, yeah, that's good against everything. That is crazy good. Devastating wounds and the ability to deal mortal wounds around it, so it's got a big footprint. Yeah, this guy is crazy. This is taking on everything. I don't see anything that can really stand up to a D-Impaler. I mean, it's got, yeah, one of the highest strengths, highest APs. You know, it's damage 4, but that's a lot of shots it's going to be able to deal. And it can be buffed pretty much with everything in the Eldar Codex. Can pretty much use all the strats other things can use. Yeah, it's just really good. So a Cobra, yeah, that's an S tier. That is definitely something worth considering for an Eldar army, just having that as your big damage dealer. So then the Scorpion. The Scorpion's a bit different. It's got the Twin Pulsar, which is pretty reliable shots and 60-inch range. It's always going to be able to get pretty much target. It's got higher damage, higher strength, and when this guy destroys something with Deadly Demise, it's triggering on a 4 instead of a 6. So again, footprint it's dealing. It's a little cheaper in fact as well. So yeah, the Scorpions, that's an S as well. Like, it's able to kill anything. Like, it can reliably take on a lot of stuff, and it's cheap enough. You can have other stuff around this. Like, if you were to bring 2 Fire Prisms, it's still outclassing the 2 Fire Prisms, the Scorpion. So it's definitely worth its cost. So you cannot go wrong with either of these models. It's like just how Eldar are. It's just everything they do is great. So yeah, S tier for Scorpion. So now we're looking at the Necrons, with probably the most widely fielded Titanic unit, the Monolith. It's pretty regular for most Necron players to bring one of these, even though they are Titanic. It's pretty well priced, the 350 points, basically working as a transport that isn't transporting the unit, so there's no harm in the models being destroyed if the Monolith is destroyed as well. One of the highest toughness of the game as well, with the 13 toughness. It can deep strike in, you know, it's regenerating. You can give it an invuln save, but again, 2-up save, it's really not going to need it most times. So yeah, its biggest drawback is it does have a short range. It's only range 24, but it is mobile in a way that you can just deep strike him in and he's in the position. You bring him up forward and yeah, he's dealing a lot of exploding las cannon hits with the death rays. Then the particle whip's pretty strong as well. And yeah, the Portal of Exile. This guy's hitting hard in close combat as well. Like, it's not something you want to get tied up in because it will eat heavy infantry really easily. So yeah, a Monolith, for what it can do, its functionality, how strong it is, Monolith is A. It's definitely recommended. Most Necron armies have one. So that tells you how useful this guy is. Now, onto the other side of that, the Obelisk. The Obelisk is useless. It's really one of the worst models in the game. It does look kind of cool, but it's only really able to hurt flying stuff, and it's strength 7, 0 AP, 1 damage on its weapon. Yeah, 24 range. It's a Tesla weapon that only can hit fly, and who cares? Like, really, why? Why is this something? Like, yeah, it could shred some gargoyles. Alright, whatever. It's, yeah, for how much it's worth, for how little it does, and how useless it is, this is F. Obelisk is just, no. Don't bring an Obelisk. That's, yeah, literally anything else for the same amount of points worth is better than bringing the Obelisk. You've been warned. Do not bring this. Now, the Tesseract Vault. This is a very interesting model. Very strong, similar to the Monolith, with a 4-up invuln. So crazy hard to get rid of. A little less on the toughness, but damn, that hurts. Having the Catan powers, those are so unique. It's got one of the most best sniper attacks in the game with the Times Arrow. Most times you're going to be using Antimatter Meteor and Cosmic Fire because it's a really strong, powerful weapons. But yeah, this guy, the Tesseract Vault, it's expensive, but you know, it's hard to avoid. It takes up such a big footprint. You have to sort of deal with it because it has the power to pretty much take out anything. So you have to be really careful around this guy. You can't ignore him, and he's going to take a lot to get rid of. So yeah, the Tesseract Vault it's very specialized, but it can do a lot. So I'd say the Tesseract Vault, that's A tier as well. It's the Monolith on steroids, pretty much. And last up on this list is the Orcs with the Kill Tank. This is one of my favorite models. It's so orky. It's just a big scrap together tank that they just kept adding more and more stuff to. It's awesome. So it's one of the most accurate shooters compared to, say, the Morkanaut and Gorkanaut. This is hitting on 4s when you're in half range. So that's really good. You don't need to rely on a war happening to get the buff. It's also faster, tougher. It's only got a 3-up save, but, you know, that's just how it is. The Burster Cannon, and this is the thing with Orcs. They have very hard anti-tank, anti-large weaponry that is shooting. So this gives it finally that shooting ability, because there's a lot of shots, and yeah, strength 14 and 2 AP. Like, this guy can deal a lot of damage. And the Giga Shooter, if you want to bring it in to just mow down a lot of infantry, can do that as well. I definitely say the Burster Cannon's probably the better option, but, you know, depends what you're going up against. And the fact that it has the reinforced ram, that's really powerful for a tank melee weapon. So that tank shock, because the strength 9, you know, that tank shock is going to be huge when you do that. So yeah, the Kill Tank's a really fun model, really great. I've always been a fan of it. Oh, and it's a transport as well. So it's really helping everything. So I definitely recommend it. I don't think this gets used enough. I think it's very underrated. So Kill Tank, and oh, I forgot to mention, it's only 295 points. This is the cheapest Titanic tank on the list. So yeah, this guy's A tier. It won't exactly deal the same damage like a Bane Blade can do, but for its point cost, what it can do, this is good. This is a good tank, would recommend, would use, so A tier for the kill tank. Alright, so that's the list, guys. So yeah, we got a fair few variety in this. This is really a lot more varied than I thought it was going to be. Because we're looking at a lot of Bane Blades, and I thought they'd all pretty much come up the same, but they all placed very differently. So we got a few in S, few in A, a couple in B, and then one in F. Yeah. And then you got the other Imperial God, Forge World stuff in C tier, and pretty much everything else still hitting a good spot. Eldar, of course, are fantastic, as they always are. And yeah, the hidden gem for the Orcs. So, pretty good. This was a fun list to do. There's definitely a lot more than what you may think, because a lot of super heavy players, you know, they're just straight into the walkers, but there's still a lot of stuff you can do with the tanks, so that's good. Yeah, so that's the end of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments, where you would place things, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye!